In part 1, Jesse and I discussed why Breath of the Wild got delayed so often. In part 2, Frank joins us and we talk a bit more about the state of Nintendo and how the Switch ties into all of this. You're listening to Zelda Pod Smashers.
Hey guys,
Hey.
quite late. So I heard
got
you were
home from
talking about Breath of the Wild, the delay, right?
Yep. So far we've been talking a little bit about the development of Breath of the Wild and why it's taking so long, and perhaps also voice acting that's taking longer than expected.
Mm-hmm.
I had one more. Well, I think there's one big reason why Nintendo's having so much trouble. For me, this Breath of the Wild feels like the first game in a long while that they're really trying something new, that they're really ambitious. I think their last ambitious Zelda project was Ocarina of Time. They went from 2D to 3D. And I think Nintendo has been stuck in the Ocarina of Time, or the N64 era, for way too long.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what the quote was, but around E3 I do remember them saying something along the lines of they want Breath of the Wild to be as revolutionary or as groundbreaking as Ocarina of Time was.
Yeah, I know myself that he wanted to surpass Ocarina of Time, and he couldn't really do it with the games before, like Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess. Even that, those games didn't outclass Ocarina of Time. It's like Shigeru Miyamoto's motivation is like pushing the team to make something that's like the next big step for Zelda.
Yeah. But I feel like they should have done that 5 years ago.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe we didn't really offer the possibilities for us. I mean, we kind of tried a lot with Skyward Sword, but in the end we completely failed.
Yeah, I think they were trying the wrong things.
Yeah, they definitely. Yeah. I think they thought the one-to-one motion control for Skyward Sword was going to be a revolutionary idea, and that it would lead to an overall better experience than Ocarina of Time provided people, but it didn't come out the way that they wanted to. So maybe Breath of the Wild is them finally figuring out what exactly people want by making this an open world experience to where you can seemingly go from dungeon to dungeon or shrine to shrine instead of forcing you to do something like playing with motion controls or going on a set path.
Yeah, finally they're getting out of their comfort zone, I think.
Yeah.
With these games.
And they, I know they mentioned something about how they brought in the team from Xenoblade, like over 100 developers to work on Breath of the Wild. So.
Well, actually they had to correct that.
Oh.
Because they said 200, and people were assuming that it was 200 from Monolith Soft. But then later they said, no, we meant 200 in total on Breath of the Wild.
Oh, okay.
I think it was just 100, but
maybe, yeah.
Not 200. But yeah, they got support from Monolith. I guess it's good or not. I haven't played Xenoblade yet, so I can't really tell how the quality of the world in this game is.
Well,
did you guys play it, Jesse?
I did not play it, but I was curious about it, and all of the reviews that I looked at said that it was great, especially for what it offered on the Wii U, and even the Wii Xenoblade game that they later brought to the new 3DS. A lot of people liked that too, because it was basically as open world as you could get on the original Wii, where it was so limited. So the fact that they were able to pull that type of game off on the Wii and then later make an actual HD version of the game for the Wii U had a lot of people impressed.
Yeah, even if the team just helps out with programming or data streaming, whatever, it's a big help, I think.
Yeah, I think they are helping with the world building, and that's what their main task was. Which makes sense because they created a huge world in Xenoblade, and now they are supporting the Zelda team and doing the same.
Yeah, it should be fine. a while back when Star Fox Zero came out. For a while I was excited about it. I thought this can be good, you know. But when it finally did come out, it's like it's a port of an N64 game with some motion controls or some crazy controls slapped on. That's it. And it bombed so hard that it proves that they're just living in the past sometimes and they need to get out of there.
I think they already did this type of game before, but what I would really like to see from the next Star Fox game is if they took that space combat that you get in Star Fox 64 or this new Star Fox game and combined it with the on-foot adventure type gameplay that you've seen in Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube. If they could somehow perfect those to where maybe you're flying and battling in space to get to a certain planet, and then once you get to the planet, it goes to the behind the back camera angle Star Fox Adventure style gameplay, where you have to go and do whatever your mission is on the planet. Once you're done, you can fly off to another planet, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a set order that you have to go to this planet and then this planet and then this planet. If they could somehow make it to where total there's say 10 different planets to go to, but you can go to any of them in any order that you want to, I think that would be the perfect Star Fox game.
Yeah, something like that.
Sounds a little bit like Metroid Prime 3, where you also had the possibility to travel between different planets, just with the combat mixed in, the space combat. But this would be quite an ambitious project, I guess.
But if any other company would own the Star Fox franchise, this is what they would make. They would make a massive online game, or they would make an open world game.
Yeah.
But no, not Nintendo. They make a remake of an N64 game.
I think if you could take the concept behind No Man's Sky, and instead of giving you the entire universe, just giving you a limited galaxy to explore to where there's just these planets and that's it. That way they don't have to focus on having every single planet different. They can just have, these really detailed planet where there's actually stuff to do on it, instead of you get there and it's the same thing every time. Yeah. But that's going into Star Fox. Getting a bit off topic.
It was just an example, and I really hope that Breath of the Wild will be a huge smash hit for Nintendo, and it will convince them that they need to make bigger games. Yeah. Games like this. So...
Or maybe it will convince them to never do it again.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Like this massive... this project on this scale has to pay off.
Yeah.
And we will have to see whether or not the Switch will be successful, and Breath of the Wild along with it. And if this bombs, it won't look good for Zelda. This has to sell well. This has to be one of the... I guess on the level of Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
At least.
So...
profitable, I don't know.
You're talking about this game has to be a success, and this brings up something that I was thinking about just the other day, to where this game has been delayed so many times, and whenever they finally showed the game off and let people play it, even though it was one of Nintendo's only games that they showed at E3, I think they showed off Pokemon and then maybe something else. I'm not completely sure, but they had.
If it didn't have anything else except for Paper Mario, I suppose. But it was quite silent here.
Yeah,
Nintendo.
So with this Zelda game being basically their only focus at E3, and then they've even went to other places promoting it as well, other gaming conventions, to where they had secluded, limited gameplay that people could have, but it was basically the same experience. But anyways, at E3, even though it was the only game that they basically had, it ended up winning game of the show for everybody. That was the most anticipated game. And with it being delayed so many times, anything that somebody might have found negative about the game, they've probably taken out or changed it to where that person would end up liking it if they replayed it. So
I
how?
hope they bring. Sorry, but I hope they bring the Wii U interface back. That's one of the changes I really disliked.
Yeah.
Because I feel comfortable with using the Wii U gamepad for the interface, like the map and changing items. I kind of like that. It was a cool feature for you, and that we had just dropped it. Maybe because the Switch version won't support this. I guess this was like the only reason why we did this, but I hope the complaints they're getting through and that Nintendo will change this for the release.
Yeah, I'm afraid that they need all the processing power for the main game. They don't have anything left for the map or the item menu.
I don't think so.
We'll see. I'm right there with you.
It worked before. I mean, they showed in the Game Awards 2014, and this was like over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They showed that it worked. But like, okay, we had the game running and the map. I don't see the issue. I think it's just a feature that they dropped because the Switch version won't support it, and the Wii U version is not supposed to be better in any way, you know.
Yeah, I know Nintendo did say that some of the people that were working on the game said that with the map on the Wii U gamepad that it took away from the experience on the TV, which is what they wanted to focus on.
It was distracted, but this was just a bullshit answer from Numa because like three months before he like praised the same thing in Twilight Princess HD, like, hey, get Twilight Princess HD because you have a map on the U gamepad. It's totally awesome. You can switch items on the fly. And now he's saying, no, it's distracting. We don't want that. That's bullshit.
Yeah. And they even had the same feature.
You can always give the option. You can always give the option to turn it off or to use a Pro controller if you don't want it. But for the people who want it, like myself, it should be there.
Yeah. You were saying, Jesse?
They also added, like, they liked that feature so much, they also added it to the Twilight Princess version for the Wii U. And then even all of the 3DS Zelda games also had the second screen with the map where the items and stuff. But my original question is, like you were talking about, this game has to be a success. And with all of the praise that it got from E3 and with them delaying it so many times to hopefully fix anything anybody had negative to say about the game, what could you imagine being in this game that would cause it to be a failure? Like, if when this game releases, it's coming out on the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch.
The question is, you kind of phrased this question wrong. The better question is, what could be missing from the game for it being a success, you know? I think one of the biggest challenges with a world of this size is filling it with content. Because what we saw at E3 was kind of lacking because you had, all you had were like these Bockblin camps and like 4 or 5 of these shrines. On the plateau, the only interesting landmark was a Temple of Time. That's like the only real thing that felt like worthy of exploring, you know? And I'm kind of afraid, like you're just running for this massive world and not finding anything interesting. This would be like a real big issue. And probably one of the reasons why this game got delayed so much, because we kind of had to come up with more content from it.
They made the world too big and they had to delay it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I agree. I have the same fear. Especially when they were talking about how you can skip the story and go straight to Ganon, things like that. I was afraid, this game is not going to have story, it's not going to have NPCs, you know?
Yeah, and I made a video on my channel, like, I think that is a huge misconception, that you can, as soon as you start, go straight to Ganon.
Yeah, probably.
Because they said, like, someone asked if you would be able to beat him, and they said, if the player was good enough, or if you're a good enough player, then you would be able to. And I think that was them kind of joking around, because we've seen that in order to just get off of the Great Plateau, you need to do some of the shrines, you need to get the paraglider, because you can't simply climb down the sides of the Great Plateau. So that alone is going to take you a few hours to do. And then once you, but really quickly, once you actually get to Ganon, we've seen that every weapon that you get early on in the game is breakable. So you're going to have to stock up on like 20 or 30 different swords. Otherwise, every few hits on a boss, you're going to end up breaking your item that you're using. So at the very least, it's going to take like 10 hours before you're able to beat Ganon if you're using all of these breakable items, and then you need to do all of this stuff at the very beginning. So that's why I think it was a misconception, or maybe he was just joking around when he said that you could go straight to Ganondorf.
Yeah, probably.
He even said that this will be so hard to do that no one in the development team could do it, actually. It's theoretically possible to just go to Ganon and beat him, but it will be so super difficult that we are not sure if it's humanly possible. So yeah, we're kind of joking around with that. But I suppose I don't need a story like with Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword where you're just running from one cutscene to the next. I kind of like exploring the story, and that's...
I'd like to have a story like in Metroid Prime.
Yeah, for example, but just go to villages, talk to people, get the information from reading stuff, or or for example, in the Nintendo 64 Zelda games, you had like these gossip stones. They gave so many story details that just revealed by these gossip stones that you only get to read from the side quest with a mask. So, and I do kind of like this concept. I don't need like watching a movie in game. I kind of want to explore the world on myself with all the story details. So I'm not really worried about the fact that you can just go to Ganon and beat him. Why not? It doesn't mean that there's no story,
Yeah.
No.
It just means that you explore the story in a different fashion than like Skyward Sword or Twilight Princess.
I'm slowly starting to feel like this could be a massive online RPG game without the online and multiplayer part. Like, I played World of Warcraft back in the day, and it was nice because it was full of people. But now, if you would play it solo, it would feel so empty and boring. And Breath of the Wild has such a huge world, but there should be enough things to do, because it could get boring if there's not.
Yeah, this is what I meant earlier with content issue. You have this large world you want to fill with interesting content. Then you have this copy and paste issue, like already seeing this with the shrines. They all look identical with the entrance, and
so far they might.
This might change. And on the insides, it's like these portal-esque test chambers. It's all kind of similar. So you have these repeating structures, which is something I already didn't like with games like The Wind Waker. It's on a smaller scale, but you also had a lot of copy and paste elements, like these platforms and some of the islands, and it's kind of boring, And you have to see how they work this out. I hope there will be lots of villages. Like, they didn't actually get a Zelda game after Zelda 2 with the Adventure of Link, which had more than 2 or 3 villages. It's usually just the one big city in a game, or maybe 2. So I'm hoping that we have lots of interesting villages everywhere. This would be nice.
Yeah, me too. I think the biggest danger for this game is the Switch. If the Switch flops, which I don't think it will, but if it does, then ouch, Nintendo's in trouble.
Yeah, I think the Switch is going to do well, because traditionally, even though they said first and foremost that it's a home console, I think a lot of people are going to look at this as Nintendo's next handheld system, or at the very least, what it actually is, which is the hybrid of the two. And where all of their handhelds has done well, I think that audience will eventually move on to this as their next handheld, especially with it having the ability to do both. And whenever it releases, it's going to be the most powerful handheld console to exist. And the fact that you're going to be able to play better versions of these Wii U games like Breath of the Wild, you're going to be able to play some of these third-party games like Skyrim, which is a game that's traditionally looked at as a game that you're going to be playing on a high-end gaming computer with a bunch of mods and everything else. The fact that that's now a handheld experience, I think that's going to get a lot of people excited. So, and then also the Pokemon rumors of the third version of Pokemon Sun and Moon. If that ends up being true, and the Nintendo Switch gets like a definitive version of the new Pokemon games, to where maybe now they use the right analog stick to control the camera and it's in HD, maybe it has some added content, stuff like that. I think that alone, just the Pokemon game being able to be played in HD, is going to sell millions of Nintendo Switches. So
for Japan, wait until Monster Hunter gets released on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big system seller.
Yeah. So
I agree. I think this Switch will do fine.
Yeah. I think at the very least, it will be around the same success as the GameCube, which I think was around 40 million, I want to say. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's hard to compare because back then people seemed to buy more consoles than now. Actually, I'm not sure. I just think it's hard to put a number on it.
Yeah. Either way, I think it'll be at least twice as good as the Wii U did in sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's still not a lot.
True.
No, I think it will do much better, like 3DS numbers. We'll see. I wanted to get a Switch at launch, mainly for Breath of the Wild, but also for just the concept. I like being an early adopter for Zelda, for Nintendo consoles.
Yeah.
And all the other games that they're bringing out.
But
now, Frank, you had the real reason for the delay, right?
It's not a real reason for the delay, but I think it's something that will happen eventually. Because I'm someone, I don't early adopt Nintendo systems anymore for one reason, because, like 1 year later, if we are bringing an inevitable Zelda edition. We did it with the 3DS 3 times, or 4 times even. We did it with the Wii U, with the Wind Waker HD, and I'm guessing we will also do it with the Switch. But normally on launch, you only have one color for the console. There are no like limited editions or different color options. You only have the one for the release, for the launch. But with Breath of the Wild being delayed, this gives them the option to do like this typical Zelda limited edition. Let it be a golden Switch design or something like the Sheikah Slate design price. I don't know, but something for the Zelda fans. So if you're a Zelda fan, don't buy the system on launch. Wait for Breath of the Wild, because otherwise you will regret it.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited for, is the potential remodels or the themed versions of it. Like with the 3DS, I think every Zelda game that released on the 3DS got its own console, because there was
pretty much. I think everything.
Yeah, Ocarina
except for Triforce Heroes.
Yeah.
Didn't get.
I especially like the Majora's Mask 3D, but
Yeah, I'm using it right now.
Yeah.
And lovely system.
But I think the only Wii U themed console that we got was Zelda Wind Waker.
Yeah. But still, if it's the one I got.
Yeah.
It's.
I had to go through some trouble to get that because I already had a Wii U.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Why did you buy this system?
I had a lot of fun with my Wii U.
Yeah, me too. But
even in the first year.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that's asked me, like, should they go out and buy a Wii U even though the Switch is coming out? And I say,
don't.
I say
all the good Wii U games, we are now getting ported to the Switch editions. You're getting the new Mario Kart, which is just an enhanced port. You're getting a new Splatoon version.
Smash Bros.
Super Smash Bros. For Switch is inevitable with all the DLC in it, which is like super expensive normally, and you can get just Switch version, which has it all, and maybe even new characters and stages and stuff. So don't, for Dean's sake, don't buy Wii U now. Wait for the Switch. You're getting all the good games on it in better. So It's same with Breath of the Wild. You're getting probably it has some better features or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I get what you're saying, but maybe I'm just such a huge Zelda fan. But I say if you have the extra money, then go ahead and get it, because we know that Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, some of these are probably going to get enhanced versions on the Switch, but we don't know anything about like Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, which, in my opinion, are the HD versions are phenomenal games. And if we don't get those ported over to the Switch eventually, then I think
might happen. We don't know. But
yeah, they would. Well, no.
But I wouldn't buy the Wii U just for these ports. I mean, especially if I already have played Twilight Princess or Wind Waker before.
Yeah.
I'm saying, of course, these are the definite versions, and I prefer playing them, but I don't think it's worth buying a Wii U.
It depends on how much money you have and how expensive it is, because all these Wii U's are going to be sold off probably pretty soon.
Yeah.
So if you can get one for €100, I think that's a good deal.
And I could imagine a price drop as soon as the price for the Nintendo Switch is announced.
I think they'll just stop making them and stop selling them
They
eventually.
already stopped making them, though.
Yeah. In Japan, they
we will be
stopped.
out of stock. We will be out of stock when the Switch is released.
Maybe as a last topic for just a few minutes before we wrap it up, Mario. The latest rumors say that Mario for the Switch is going to be a launch game. Even though Miyamoto said a while back, like half a year ago, that we might see it show up at E3 2017. And now it's going to be a launch game. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that whenever he first announced that, maybe he didn't know for sure if it was going, or if the Switch was going to be releasing in March of 2017. So if they were going to end up delaying it, then, you know, it being at E3 would make perfect sense. But
yeah,
to our knowledge, it's not going to be getting delayed. So with it coming out in March, maybe, you know, he was just overthinking things or wasn't thinking hard enough about it. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's still possible that Mario in some way shows up at E3, even if the new Mario game is out, because we could still get, like, we know we're getting Mario Kart, and then we've seen this new Mario game, but there could be some sports Mario game like they always make, or the Smash Brothers for Nintendo Switch could be their holiday title that has Mario in it. So even if this game comes out, then I still think we're going to be seeing, you know, Mario at E3. Sorry, my brain kind of lost thought there. But yeah, and even then we could possibly get DLC. We've seen them kind of experiment with it on the Wii U. Smash Brothers did well. Mario Kart 8 did well. Splatoon had its DLC or whatever that they released for free after the game came out. So if they released the new Mario game and then had a multiplayer DLC for it that they showed off at E3, I think that would be great, and it would be a way to get people that had stopped playing Mario to suddenly get back into it.
Yeah, maybe. Frank, as a Zelda fan, how do you feel about Breath of the Wild being delayed and Mario being pre-late? What do you call it?
I don't really care. I'm not in a hurry with Breath of the Wild. So I'm patient. As long as the game will be good when it comes out, I'm happy. So I don't need them to rush things. I'm still busy with Hyrule Warriors, and I want to replay some Zelda games on Wii U. Like I want to go through the HD remakes again. And through my virtual console games, and I will be busy for a while with Zelda stuff, so I don't need Breath of the Wild to come out in March already.
No.
So I'm fine with the situation.
Well, for me, it was a slap in the face. Like, we've been waiting for Zelda for so long, and it was supposed to come out in 2015. And I mean, Mario at launch seems like a very good idea, but still, couldn't the Mario team have helped out the Zelda team instead? You know, to get Breath of the Wild done. And,
but at least you're getting your limited edition console. You wouldn't get this on launch.
But
no, we are not doing this on launch. And this would be a problem for me because I personally have to wait for the limited edition Zelda thing, you know. It's definitely coming. So if Breath of the Wild was a launch title, you probably wouldn't have gotten this. And then I would have to wait until the next Zelda game on Switch, which might never come, you don't know. So it would be a weird situation. So So I can just get the Switch when Breath of the Wild comes out with a limited edition or whatever, and then I can enjoy the system and be happy. So I don't really care about the delay. I guess it's better in some sense.
Yeah, for you the delay kind of seems like it makes sense, since you were going to be wanting the special themed version of the console anyways.
I'm not an early adopter, so I don't feel comfortable with buying a Nintendo system at launch because there's always a hook to it. There's always a disadvantage to it. At least with the last systems, you always have been screwed in a way if you bought it on launch.
Yeah, and for the
so I'm careful with that. So I'm happy if this game is not a launch title, and even if it was, I wouldn't have bought it. I wouldn't have bought the Switch or the game. I would have played it on the Wii U, and then just waited for whatever the Switch will have next. Because right now it doesn't look like the Switch will have many interesting games. It's just enhanced ports like Mario Kart and Smash Bros. And I don't really care that much. I would buy them if I have a Switch because I like these games and I would like to have better versions of them. But it's not like, okay, I have to buy a Switch now, you know. I guess the Switch is more interesting for people who haven't bought a Wii U, you know. It seems like it's even the main target audience for Nintendo right now. It's like, okay, those people who didn't get the Wii U, who didn't get the concept, we try to attract them with this kind of new design and the fact that you know you can actually use it on the go, which you couldn't do with a gamepad, you know. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
It seems to be like the big goal, like, okay, we want to get the people who didn't like the Wii U.
Yeah, but still, I already played all the Wii U games that I wanted to play, so the next big thing for me was going to be Breath of the Wild, so for me it's...
It sucks for you.
Yep.
Yeah, something that I'm looking forward to, if the game is delayed, I hope that same demo that we've seen at E3, if they released it for... the Nintendo Switch, where if you buy the Nintendo Switch then you have access to that same demo. I think that would be really great. With the Wind Waker demo they did, if you bought the Zelda Collector's Edition on the GameCube, it had the 3 different areas that you could go to and you could play for 10 minutes. And you didn't necessarily have to go through the dungeon. You could use that 10 minutes to just...
20 minutes.
Was it 20? Okay.
Yeah, and I love the demo. It was actually, this demo made me buy a GameCube and the Wind Waker because...
Frank is like a walking Zelda Wikipedia, so if he says 20
awesome.
minutes, then...
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's...
No, wasn't there a rumor today that there was going to be a demo for Breath of the Wild?
I seen someone on Twitter talk about the rumor, but there's so many rumors coming out.
Yeah,
you don't know which ones to believe and which ones not to, because so many of them are turning out to be true. So like,
yeah,
it makes sense. We did the same thing with Triforce Heroes. Like we had this E3 demo first, and then at launch we're releasing the same demo just with the updated engine and whatever. On the eShop for free, and you could play it with your friends online or whatever. And I'm guessing we will do the same for Breath of the Wild, like the same demo idea where you can play the Plateau and the first shrines and and try the game out. Why not? It makes sense.
Because...
Did you...
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, everybody that played it at E3, it ended up being a lot of people's game of the show. Like, if you went to IGN or GameSpot or whatever, a lot of people said Breath of the Wild was one of the best games there. So with the reception being so high for the game, you would imagine that Nintendo would think it would be a good idea to release the demo to the public. That way, someone that might be iffy or not necessarily interested in it, if they end up liking the experience, suddenly they have a new customer that they otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah, we can't release free demos because usually these demos are based on the main game. And so there are lots of artifacts in the code. So the Wii U is quite for open system. So right now, if we have to release the demo to the public at free, then you would have been spoiled about everything in the game. So, but I guess at launch, if they can do it, like release a demo, why not?
Yeah, they could even do something like limit it to just one of the shrines.
Yeah, I suppose, but I don't see why they shouldn't do the same demo like they did on the A3 with a whole plateau,
Yeah.
Because like we said, it's like only 2% of the game, so what's the harm,
Yeah. I think I could spend 5 hours just on the Great Plateau.
Yeah.
You can really get lost in this whole thing, like just running around and crafting stuff.
It's bigger than some Zelda games were, so.
Yeah, that's true. Like the Great Plateau is, I think it looks like it's 2-3 times the size of the entire overworld of Ocarina of Time.
Something like that.
Yeah, pretty much. But definitely not twice the content.
No.
It's like it was quite empty. You're running just around and fighting bokoblins.
Yeah, but that can also be charming. Did you play Shadow of the Colossus?
No.
It's just an empty world except for these giants that you have to find one by one.
Yeah.
But the loneliness that you experience can also be very touching. In that game it works, and I hope they'll make it work for Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
I have faith in Nintendo.
Another great thing about Breath of the Wild is that the Great Plateau does kind of seem empty. Like, there's the bosses. I'm sure there's some secrets and stuff to find. But for the most part, it does seem empty. But in a way, it makes sense because the Great Plateau is supposed to be raised up away from everything. And maybe it's raised up to keep it away from the danger that's, in the outside world. So once you get off the Great Plateau, maybe suddenly instead of groups of 3 or 4 bokoblins, there's groups of 10 to 15 bokoblins, or just different variations of monsters, and then you get to the villages and everything else.
Would be nice. We'll see. We'll just have to wait a few more months.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it, unless you have any last thoughts.
No.
How much do you think? Because you just said a few more months, but how much would you anticipate the delay? How long? Could you see this becoming a Christmas title, 2017?
I hope not. No, and after they delay to holiday 2017, they say, you know what, we want to make it a little bit better. We'll delay it into 2018.
Yeah.
No, I hope it's just May or June.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because the 2 biggest sell points for games is around the time of launch, because there's not many games to buy. So traditionally, like, a game that wouldn't sell that well is suddenly selling a lot because it's one of the very few games to choose from. And then the holiday season. So if it's not a launch title, the holiday season, from a sales standpoint or a business standpoint that Nintendo would be looking from, would be best. But for us gamers, it would suck, because instead of waiting a few more months, now you're waiting almost, well, from right now you would be waiting almost an entire year. So
but what does it matter in the long run? Because, for example, Ocarina of Time, I played this game not on Christmas 1998, but 1 year later I got it. I got the Nintendo 64 in '99, and it was still a good game, and it's still a good game today. And in 10 years from now, it won't matter whether Breath of the Wild was released in March or in August. September, October, you know.
True.
It doesn't really matter. What matters is that this game will be a timeless, great experience. And I guess Nintendo should take all the time to make it right.
Yeah, but
Of course, we can't delay it infinitely. At some point, we will have to release it. I'm guessing this some point will be next year, but yeah, in the long run, it won't really matter if you have waited half a year longer.
I don't know. I think it matters.
So
for the
don't
Switch.
be such a baby, Stephan.
Well,
Be a little bit patient. Maybe play some more Hyrule Warriors.
yeah.
It's great.
I'm still not done with my 100% marathon, so I have some more.
Yeah,
time.
and you still have to finish Hyrule Warriors. So.
There. I'll play Hyrule Warriors 2 again. No, I'm thinking that the Switch needs Breath of the Wild as soon as possible. But I was also thinking if they only expect to sell 2 million Switches before the end of this fiscal year, that's end of March, that could mean that they just don't have enough Switches for the hype that Breath of the Wild could generate. And
You mean 2 million at launch, basically?
yeah, that's what they're expecting. That's what they're saying in their investors meeting.
Yeah.
So at least if it launches a few months later, they'll have more Switches and everybody gets a go. But that's a silly reason, of course. They didn't delay the game there.
And as I said, for limited edition Switch, it will sell more systems because Zelda fans will want to get this, like me.
Got 2 Switches then.
Not me, but you maybe do, yeah, because you couldn't wait.
Yeah, I like multiplayer.
But that's
No,
good for that's good for Nintendo if you buy 2, so do it.
Yeah, I shouldn't reward them for that. No, okay. It's been a bit longer than expected, but
Yeah.
it was a nice chat.
It was great being on. So
Yeah, thanks for joining
Yeah,
us.
Nice to meet you.
yeah, nice to meet you guys as well. And finally, I know I messaged you guys on Pod Smashers a long time ago, interested in joining. So it was really great finally being able to come on with you guys.
Yeah, I agreed. I remember that.
Yeah. Like, used to, I would just look up random videos from people making Zelda content, and I found your guys' podcast, which was all about Zelda, so it was perfect for me. And I encourage anybody else that's a fan of Zelda to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, thanks. Cool. Yeah, we'll also put a link to your channel in the description, etc. Probably all of our listeners already know you, but still, you know.
Yeah, and don't forget my blog, Hyrule Blog.
Hi.
Easy to find. Yeah, lots of Hyrule Warrior stuff lately. So not so interesting for Stephan, but maybe for some.
Even I was watching your blog yesterday. I was reading parts of it, so. Okay. Well, thanks for joining, and thanks for listening, everyone. And see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.